So we will go ahead and get started. There are a few people still filtering in, but we will have the full recording of this as well that we can share out with attendees. So I wanted to go ahead and mention that there is an attendee chat with Q&A available. So please feel free to submit any questions there during the webinar, and Paul and I will either answer them as they come in or at the end as time permits. So welcome to the network effect. Stop posting, start covering with FleetWorks and SONAR. I'm Julie Vandekamp. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at SONAR, and I'm joined by Paul, who is the co-founder and CEO of FleetWorks. SONAR, for those of you who aren't very familiar with our tool, is the leading market intelligence data provider in our industry. So we don't just have rates, but we also have context, including tender volumes, capacity conditions, trends, forecasts, multimodal supply chain data. For today's purposes, we'll really focus on spot rates and lane scores that put a value on coverage difficulty on a specific lane based on current capacity conditions. So obviously rates are valuable for both carriers and brokers, but that lane score is as well for both carriers and brokers to really understand leverage and options in the market specific to that lane and what's happening in capacity on that lane that day. So that's a little bit about SONAR. Paul, can you give us a quick overview on FleetWorks?
Yeah, absolutely. So FleetWorks does a huge number of things for brokers and carriers, but what we're really excited about to talk about today is our agentic marketplace. So FleetWorks offers an AI agent to brokers and an AI agent to carriers. And in doing so, we help freight get booked so much faster. So when a carrier talks to Sofia, our AI agent, instead of, let's say, picking up the phone and just dialing down a huge list of posted phone numbers or posted emails, carriers can talk to Sofia, access a huge network of verified freight volume, and get booked directly through Sofia as well. So we'll demo some of what customers are seeing there. I'm really excited kind of to take AI or sort of agentic workflows to like the next step, which is creating marketplaces and creating booking opportunities for people.
So Paul, I have been really excited about this partnership because I am always thrilled to have SONAR data in front of more people, right? More users, different audiences, and delivered in different ways, right? We have a platform, but our product offering is truly data. And in an AI world today, I feel like data is kind of the moat when it comes to AI, because AI can be really helpful in creating efficiency, but the differentiator is the data that is feeding that model. So I was really excited for the partnership for that reason. Can you tell me sort of what interested FleetWorks in it and why it was important to you to have SONAR data available for your users?
Yeah, absolutely. So there were a few key reasons why we were equally excited about the partnership. So you're right. First and foremost is data, but I think it's really interesting to see who has access to the data. When I've been probably on site at this point to 40 or 50 brokerages, and you look at everyone's screen and everyone has their rating tool pulled up. Like they're always looking at market rates in real time. And then when you do a ride along with a carrier, they can't do that, right? Because they are literally driving, or they're literally trying to cover so many trucks at the exact same time. And so often, carriers have a lack of data, and that lack of carrier data creates a lot of inefficiency downstream. And so we're using SONAR data to inform carriers about what market rates look like in real time while they're in conversation about available load volume. So it basically centralizes all of that data into the communication layer. And it means you don't actually need a user interface to create kind of this centralized dashboard in a way for a carrier. Like for a carrier, their dashboard could be their text messages, or it could be a quick phone call. And when it's in one of those locations, Sofia today is talking to tens of thousands of carriers every single day, and SONAR is a part of that conversation. So that's one of the main reasons why we're really excited. The second reason is we work, as you know, with brokers and carriers, and so as part of that journey, we want to make both sides as successful as possible. We want to be really an agnostic platform that helps both sides book, but also book much faster than if you were booking off platform. And so what Sonar data lets us do is actually increase the velocity of booking so that, let's say you're a carrier and you see a load, but you call in and it's suddenly too late. Like you missed it because you called in, you were the 10th caller as opposed to the first caller, or your rate was off and someone else called with a more accurate rate. We fix that problem for carriers. And for brokers, they always tell us that, hey, I had a truck in hand, but there were so many little pieces, whether it be pricing negotiation, whether it be onboarding, whether it be compliance, all these little pieces slow us down. And carriers are trying to move just as fast. And if I, as a broker, take 10 minutes to book a carrier versus 30 seconds, I'm going to lose trucks in hand. And so for both sides of that equation, we use Sonar data to inform them about the right rate to book at. And then we also give both sides confidence to be able to book instantly or much faster.
So a couple of things I want to ask about this. And a couple of things I love about this. So first, I love that, especially from a carrier perspective, it's really only the data you need that's relevant to you and customized to you, rather than having to sift through a load board or sift through a dashboard and look at all of these rates versus saying, I need to know what's happening on what's available from point A, I need to get to point B, and sending you just the relevant information for that, including rates. So I love that. It cuts so much of the noise. I love the efficiency it creates. And then I also love that as you're talking about this, it really aligns with sort of Sonar's mission of data transparency. And, similar to you working with both brokers and carriers, at Sonar, we work with shippers, brokers, and carriers. And we don't differentiate, and we differentiate the data in what's contract versus spot, and in this case, we're showing track spot rates, which are spot rates that are broker to carrier rates. But we don't differentiate who has access to that, because for the same reason, we're agnostic to that. And we want to just be kind of like, a PRA, a price reporting agency, just agnostic, transparent data. So we really align in that regard. And then I have a follow-up question as well. So as you were talking about, text messages may be a carrier's dashboard or what they're working from. Is it an option to use voice to text when using the agent?
Yeah, so there's really 4 ways that carriers can interact with FleetWorks. So you can think about the most traditional way that everyone's used to, which is you could call it a load board. We call it just a dashboard. So they can access volume and talk to Sofia in our dashboard. That's a very small percentage of our interactions. And if that's all we did, then I don't think we could offer carriers anything new relative to what they have today. So where we bring a lot of value to carriers in our community is they can text Sofia. They can, of course, voice to text Sofia. They can call Sofia. Sofia can call them. And Sofia actually remembers their preferences about when they want to be called, texted, or emailed, what time, and whether that carrier likes to reach out to Sofia or vice versa, right? So it's inbound, outbound, it's all communication channels. And so if you're a carrier, sort of regardless of how you want to book freight, and again, it's proving to be the fastest way to book a load. Over time, booking it'll just feel really slow. And as you think about the best carriers, hey, I actually get booked faster through CI and go through that channel. Suddenly you think about, it's like almost this concept of sort of negative selection bias, where carriers who are slightly worse over time, whether they be worse on time performance, worse GPS checking, worse rates, they're going to want to go manual routes, but there'll be less freight available to them over time, right? So eventually, marketplaces, I think, really have to become agentic. And a really important part of making marketplace work really well is really transparent pricing that everyone can agree on. That the rates are updated daily, so it's like a rolling 30-day. We like the fact that we can show coverage difficulties. We can tell carriers this is a really tough load, and it's to your advantage, but the flip side could also be, hey, this is a really easy broker. Like, there's probably not going to be a lot of wiggle room on negotiation. Right? So you said it really well. It's all about bringing that to a place that has really hidden some in either side of the equation.
You all land on the name Sofia for your agent.
Yeah, so we was really important to have a name that was really easy to pronounce. And I would be really it's because just all our job that's something.
Yeah, which is great. All right, should we get into the demo?
Yeah, let's do it. So what we've kind of shown, what we're going to show here is basically a live abstraction of a carrier interaction with Sofia. On the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see a text message between me as the carrier and Sofia, who's helping me find freight. And then on the right-hand side, we've actually built sort of a peek behind the curtain for what Sofia sees, how she interacts with drivers. And so you start to see that like AI agents can feel sometimes like a black box. You can be like, hey, what is actually happening? But what's here on the right-hand side is actually how we structure that data. This is data that our brokers can access, that our carriers can access. It also lets us do really powerful things around AI evaluations, where we can evaluate every turn of the conversation to make sure that Sofia is behaving appropriately and accurately. We can make tweaks to it, and so you'll see sort of the full front end and back end experience here. So here we go. Sofia has texted me. She says, hi, I booked you a load yesterday. Are you still empty in Greenville today? Let me know where you want to end up, and I'll find a load for your van. So here you can see that Sofia actually remembers a lot about me. Where I'm going to be empty, what equipment type I have. And on the right-hand side here, you can see that Sofia remembers that I, as a carrier, want a text at 7 a.m. Central only on weekdays. So all that has happened behind the scenes really magically, and it makes it feel like a really natural experience that is exactly what carriers would want.
I think it's important to point out here too that yes, she's remembering the mode type or the type of equipment that's van, and that in this integration there are dry van, refrigerated, and flatbed rates available.
Yeah, great call out. Exactly. So let's say, empty today, trying to get to Ohio, right, for example. Cool. So we can see here on the right-hand side, Sofia makes what's called a tool call. So this is what makes Sofia an agent. Sofia has access to a huge range of tools for finding loads, potentially for changing appointments, for tracking updates. We're constantly building new tools for Sofia. Part of this demo is going to be calling our SONAR tool. And so a tool basically lets Sofia access something either in our database or with a partner. And so you can see here that we've structured Greenville, South Carolina to Ohio, picking up tomorrow and delivering on Saturday for a van, radius of 150 miles, no max weight. You can see that we've found 3 loads in our broker network, and they're sorted by what we think is the attractiveness for me, the carrier. And you can see here, we've converted all of this kind of code and JSON into something that's like a super human readable format, really easy for carrier to interact. First one looks good.
So Sofia came back and brought 3 load options and the information regarding the weight.
Yep. So
the
Sofia
commodity, the mileage, and the rate on that lane.
That's right. That is right. Yeah. So right now, this is an interesting example because you don't want to sell all details of the load to a carrier when you're talking about multiple loads. Like that could be really cumbersome for the driver. So I might just say, hey, the first one looks the most interesting. Tell me more about it. And that's how we're gonna filter it down. So you'll notice I didn't even mention the load ID, but Sofia can interpret that the first one means this load right here. Here's the load ID. Great, we make another tool call and we pull all the results of the load. So the broker's expedited logistics, here are the full pickup details, the full delivery details, and rate, mileage, weight, and commodity. We pull the full load notes from the broker's TMS. So we're selling the load just like a broker would want. And we work with our brokers to clean up their load notes. So A, we're not revealing any information that they wouldn't want, but also that we're properly highlighting the things that they might need. For example, like we need ELD tracking on this load, for example, or in this case,
this is a great example. Swing doors, 2 straps, ELD tracking, I think, yes.
Yep, exactly. And then Sophia asks, hey, do you want me to submit an offer to book it at this rate? I might say something like, well, this rate looks maybe okay, but actually the big problem is the pickup. Pickup doesn't work. Can they shift this to 11 a.m.? Cool. So we make another tool call to get appointment time flexibility. And our tool result is that it's an appointment, not a first come, first serve. And sometimes we know if the appointment can flex. In this case, we don't. It might be possible, not guaranteed. Sophia needs to ask the broker here. You can see on the right-hand side. And so we kind of parse that out into a much cleaner format for me as the carrier. It might be possible I can ask Expedited Logistics, but before I do that, what do you need on the rate, right? Because we don't want to just send a question to Expedited Logistics without at least like a reason to respond. And so let's say we want to be at 2K, broker wants 1850. Let's see if we can get 2K. Sophia, of course, understands that 2K is 2000. And here is where we have this interaction with SONAR track rates. So we pull the origin, the destination, the equipment type, the pickup date, and our tool result is that, hey, the market rate is 1900 with a coverage score of 85, which means that the broker is very likely to be able to find easier coverage on this lane. And so we say, hey, SONAR has this at 1900 for a van with a coverage score of 85. Expedited is probably going to find a carrier for 19. Do you want me to submit 19 and work on an appointment time change? Yeah, go ahead. Cool. So we check the broker's min and max. We check SONAR. Let's say the broker comes back to us in a few minutes. They say, hey, we can do 1900, but we cannot move the 9 a.m. appointment. It is fixed. So Sophia's going to look back, check all the loads that we previously shared, and proactively try to find the next option for the carrier. So we say, hey, we take all of this kind of parsed JSON and we convert it to just human readable text again, saying, hey, they came back, they can't move the appointment, but the second load that I shared pays a little bit worse, but it's first come, first serve, and you can pick up anytime as late as 2 p.m. Great.
I love the context and the knowledge that she's adding in here, saying it pays a little bit worse because it's a beverage load. And historically, beverage shipments, because they are low-cost shipments and relatively commoditized, do tend to pay more than higher value freight or more time-definite freight. So I think it's really, really smart that she has that context. And also, with it being a beverage load, it would be a heavier load, for example.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so you'll notice this one, 38,000 pounds. The other one I think was around 10,000 pounds. Yeah, about let's see here, where was it?
Yep.
Yeah, 10,500 pounds. Great. So cool. We've educated the carrier. We take the opportunities in authentic conversations to educate the carrier. To your point about so many things, SONAR rates, appointment flexibility, why the rates are the way they are. Right. So we are providing this like small toolkit that's accessible through any communication channel with carriers. And here we can say, cool, here's the load. Do you want me to book this at 1600? Let's go ahead and say at least 1650, and I'm good to go. Cool. So we evaluate this bid. We look at the load ID. We check the carrier's bid. We check their rate. Broker comes back to us and automatically says, yes, this rate is good. Ready to book. And in some cases, our brokers actually work with us to develop rules for what constitutes and what is allowed to be end-to-end booking. So let's say I'm a carrier who passes a bunch of compliance rules. This rate looks good. Maybe I have history with this broker, excuse me. And we say, great, broker approved 1650, booking it now. Robinson is sending a con to your email. So just like that,
and then
text conversation.
In that case, if it's a known carrier who they've worked with before and they have their rules set up, this just auto sends the rate con and shows it is covered in their load. All of the are not covered on their board. Okay, cool.
Yep. And that's just one interaction, or one example of the kinds of interactions that are happening tens of thousands of times per day on our platform with Sofia, whether they be call, text, or email. Feedback from the carrier community is great. And since we integrated SONAR data into these conversations, we see even more engagement. Carriers are really loving the fact that they can find pricing data in the exact same place where they're booking. So they don't have to log on to a website. They can just text about it.
Yeah, that's so much easier. And they could just do it from their phone versus having to load a laptop and have Wi-Fi access and all of those things as well.
Yeah.
Super cool. I think I've got a really good understanding of how this works from the carrier side. Can you talk just a little bit about the brokers, what they see, how this shows up there, and how the interaction looks and happens on that side?
Totally, yeah. So one of the most important parts of our promise to both carriers and brokers is the ability to close the loop faster. And so we've given brokers effectively an autonomous offer manager that's hooked to their TMS, and brokers can immediately act on offers that they've not given full autonomy to. So if I'm Expedited Logistics sitting in FleetWorks, I'm just getting a constant stream of carrier offers that I can approve, counter, or reject manually, or I can make automated rules that will do it for me. And so for a lot of our brokers, we very quickly scaled to booking anywhere up 15% daily load volume in the last couple of months. And we're continuing to iterate on that marketplace to drive that sort of percentage penetration much higher for them.
That's amazing. And then do they set like rate parameter limits, like if they're using the SONAR rates well within a certain threshold on each side of it?
Typically,
if they want to auto cover.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So brokers will come to us with a min and max. If they're a SONAR customer, that's often informed by SONAR data. So we'll pull that from the TMS and we'll apply that to how we educate carriers about likelihood to book.
Very cool. I'm at it's a few years since I was deeply involved in brokerage, other than working regularly with our customers. But I imagine that digital brokerage and digital coverage strategies are still a huge part of everyone's goals and objectives to create efficiency. And now, taking that further, not just digital and automated, but AI as well. So I think this is incredibly impactful and helpful when it comes to that.
Yeah, we're really excited. I mean, I think this is, this is sort of the next evolution of that digital booking experience, where suddenly every possible communication channel can be a digital booking experience. And the really cool part is that we actually capture the data as well. So we capture interest in volume. And so for brokers who are on a platform, FleetWorks gives them access to more carrier data, more carrier interest data, more carrier booking data, more carrier bidding data than they've ever had before. And now we're continuing to evolve on it with AI agents that parse that data and inform brokers how to then go back to the carrier community and who they should be working with more and who they should work with less. So really enable like that full lifecycle management of inbound interest all the way back to how do we create really effective outbounding motions for brokers too.
Yeah, and I think that's so cool from the broker perspective, not just to have that data to understand their carriers, but then it allows them to honestly like market to the carriers. They can look at it the way that a marketing department would, where you're gauging intent and interest and really targeting things that are specifically of interest to them and fit their custom ICP, right? For that carrier when the brokers are working with it. So I think that level of data and analytics would be incredible to have. I would have loved to have that when I was a broker, to know like where it's worth spending my time versus where it's not, and actually building those carrier relationships in a meaningful way.
Yeah, spoken like a true
informed,
marketer.
meaningful way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think a lot of our customers see, AI, the first inclination is to think that AI is actually removing the human relationship, and we have not found that to be true. We've actually found that AI actually helps people really deepen their core relationships, because it helps you identify who are your core relationships. Maybe even all of our customers have sort of pockets of opportunity within their business that they were missing, that, hey, this carrier actually comes back to us every single week or maybe multiple times a week. And because we're such a big company, no one was really paying attention. But we're flagging to them saying, hey, XYZ Express has actually been booking with you every week for the last 6 months on this lane. You should consider dedicating a lane with them. And so it's not just for your transactional bookings. It's actually a way for you to find those pockets of opportunity for carrier reuse, which everyone knows ends up creating great outcomes. Like, we create consistency within the business, consistency in pricing, better service, because carriers really kind of understand how to run that volume and how to run that shipper. And so it really kind of creates this like self-healing loop and the self-healing network for both sides of the transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that those first 3 loads are with a new carrier are always the riskiest from a service standpoint, from a safety standpoint, from a liability standpoint in today's world, certainly as a broker. So the opportunity to build those deeper relationships and repeat carriers is so important. And I love the way you said that really AI is not replacing those relationships, it's informing those relationships, right? And I think there are a lot of things that automation and AI can replace and create massive amounts of efficiency, but I don't think it can ever replace truly building a relationship. And this is such a smart way for it to inform those relationships, to make them more meaningful and focus on what matters for both parties, right?
Couldn't agree more.
Is there anything we missed that we should be talking about? This is such a cool tool.
I think the thing that really excites me is this is the worst that it's ever going to be. Like, I think it's really fun working in the frontier of AI, because our tools just keep getting better. The core models keep getting better, but also our ability to work with them and understand them and derive new tools and derive new results and figure out creative ways for this technology to work for our customers is super exciting. So, I think what the audience has seen here is the worst it's ever going to be. So makes me really optimistic for the next 12 months.
Yeah, it is exciting, and the world is changing so quickly, and it is really fun to be a part of it. So if someone is watching or sees this clip, how can they find more? Where can they get more information on FleetWorks as a whole, on this specific product, on how to get access to Sofia? What should they do?
Yeah, so if you're a carrier, it's super easy. You just sign up with our website. On our website, you verify your MC number, you verify your email, and you'll immediately get access to Sofia. You'll immediately get access to the network of freight that you're actually eligible for. So we only show you freight that you're actually eligible for. If you're a broker, you can come to our website, FleetWorks.ai, and just sign up for a quick demo. Our sales team is super responsive. We'll typically get back to you same day, show you how the platform works. We'll show you all of our other AI agents and work with you to craft a solution that is really well suited to your business.
Perfect. If you would like to learn more about Sonar and more about the data we offer, you can go to gosonar.com and request a demo. We'll also be sending follow-up from this event with a little bit of that information as well. And we have a press release that goes into a little bit more detail about the partnership as well, with links for where you can get more information. So I think we've covered it, Paul. Thank you so much for going through it with us. If anyone has, additional questions, I will speak for Paul, I guess, and I will go ahead and say that I reach out to me or to him, and we would be happy to answer it. We did just have a question, and that's interesting. Here's where do I find information? Sarah already answered it. FleetWorks.ai is the FleetWorks website. So thank you again, and have a great rest of the day.
Okay. Thanks, Julie. Thanks, everyone.